Sales story secrets you don't know yet. Hey guys, Jim Edwards here, and welcome to another edition of Letting the Chickens Out with Jim. And today I've got a video for you about sales stories that's going to tell you how to adapt your stories to many different situations so you can sell a whole lot more and incorporate stories into the power of sales stories into your sales copy. So I got 3 tips for you. Tip number 1, stories are like a Swiss Army knife. What am I talking about? Well, you know that a Swiss Army knife can fit a whole lot of different purposes. And so the same knife can be many different tools. It can be a spoon, it can be a knife, it could be a fork, it could be a saw, it could be a magnifying glass, it could be all kinds of different cool stuff. And the thing you need to understand about stories is each story can serve many different purposes. And the cool thing is that you get to decide which purpose the story serves. And you can also dig up the same story later and use it for a different purpose, which is pretty cool. So for example, if I were going to tell a story about having dinner with my buddy Duke Clark on the Jimboat 5, the purpose in telling that story could be manyfold. It could be networking. It could be a story about making friends for life. It could be a story about why it's important to mastermind. It could be a story about learning much better when you're having fun. It could be a story about adventure. I get to choose the purpose of the story. Now, the second tip is that length does matter. That's right, fellas. Length does matter, despite what you might have been told. Now, the cool thing is that in this case, you can vary the length of your story to fit the situation. So, for example, on a webinar, the same story might be, hang on one sec. On a webinar, you might tell a story, and it might take 5, 10, 15 minutes to tell that story. Good morning, chickens. There they are. On Facebook Live, you might tell that same story, but only tell it in 1 to 3 minutes. And in an email teaser or in an article or something like that, you might share that story in a sentence. The cool thing about stories is that they're elastic, so you can expand or contract them and use them in any different situation that you need and let them fit the time. And the cool thing that you need to understand is that you should make the story fit the time available rather than making the story have to be a certain length, and sometimes it'll be too long or too short. So the third tip is that you need to tie the moral of the story back in with the purpose. What am I talking about? Well, the moral of the story is where you tell people their big takeaway from the story. This is literally where you get to tell people what to think as a result of the story. So you've got to match your moral with the purpose. So for example, if I wanted to stress networking, then I would tell the story about the Jimboat dinners and all the different people that I'd met and all the different things that we'd talked about. And then I would close, and I'm going to give you a formula that you can use so you can automatically tie your purpose back to tie your moral back to your purpose. It's real easy. Here it is. Okay. If you want to blank, then you should blank. So if you want to get the amazing results of networking like all these other Jimboaters have done over the years, then you need to go check out thejimboat.com and find out how you can be on the next cruise. So that's an easy way to tie your moral back with your purpose, which is really the magic sauce with stories. So here's what you should do to move forward. Number 1, you should see stories as flexible tools that you can use and adapt in your sales copy. Number 2, you should choose your purpose and tie your moral back to it, and make sure you do this consciously and on purpose. Number 3, you should let your story fill the time needed. Don't ramble, don't go too long. And number 4, always have a moral or a point at the end. Don't just kind of end. So the big takeaway here is that you can adapt your stories really for many different purposes without having to struggle to use the power of sales stories once you know exactly what to do. So I'm Jim Edwards, and if you're one of those people who's excited to even take this to the next level, if you want to start using stories to get incredible results in your sales copy and in your overall sales and business online, you need to go check out thejimboat.com, because that's one of the amazing topics we're going to be covering in depth as we set sail on the high seas for a week of adventure, networking, and profit. So I'm Jim Edwards. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye, everybody.